Hello, here's my update from last weekend. I'm out at Vancouver right now. I'm on the way to Sword. Um, I finally got my sword back. You could probably see it there. I re-gripped it, which was a giant pain in the ass. My smith just remade the handle. I had my sword at the smith for about 6 months straight. All I needed was to get the hilt redid so that, I could use it again. The hilt got, basically when I was sword fighting with it last, I collected cuts, which is like basically putting the sword out in front of you with the cross guard to block. And I did that a couple of times, and eventually, after this, I fought this one dude. He smashed my hilt by striking the cross guard so hard that it seesawed and sheared the wood down the middle, sort of just like crack, and I had to get my sword regripped. What this means is that I had to take it to a smith, and I asked all of the girls, like, hey, do we know a smith? Do we know a guy? Everyone's like, and my sword's a little weird. It doesn't have a screw-on pommel. It has a peened pommel. A peened pommel means that they literally heated up the metal on the pommel and then pounded it down so that it would just be like the metal stopping it. It's not a screw, it's not the pommel itself. This means that when like enough force is applied, the pommel won't tug on the sword itself. It'll just kind of like slip because the force of it will cause it to shift downwards, and it'll cause the pommel to unpeen. If you have a screw-on sword or a screw-on pommel, it basically makes the pommel unremovable without sufficient force, which, if there is, it will cause the pommel to just snap off at the screw and shear the sword into two pieces. So in this situation, I actually kind of got lucky. My pommel got slammed so many times that it just kind of slid, and then eventually the hilt broke. So I had to get it repeened. Other situations, people just get their sword broken and they have to get it rewelded, and it sucks. All this is to say that the job that I got done was not a difficult one. It does not take literally months to do. It takes like a week to do tops. And the actual act of making the hammer and peening everything back together takes like an hour. It's just that this fucking smith is a crazy person. Dear God. This fucking smith, oh boy. Where do I even begin? So, first of all, this guy doesn't respond to his emails ever. It is literally impossible to get a hold of this guy. And like, I spend like literally weeks just trying to get his attention in the first place. And then eventually, like, I call him and he responds immediately. I'm like, what the fuck? I've sent this guy an email like every day for like 2 weeks, and I didn't get a fucking response. And then I finally get a fucking response when I just call him randomly. So I'm like, okay, this guy doesn't know how to computer, so I have to call him. So after like literally months of this, of like calling him, trying to set things up, trying to get things going, trying to help him figure things out, eventually he responds with, oh, I'm gonna be gone for a month. I'm like, what the fuck is this fucking guy? Okay. So after that happens twice, literal months of him just vanishing into the aether, I finally get a hold of him in like a week, and I'm like, hey, I'm showing up next. It was literally like on Canada Day, or the week before Canada Day. I was like, hey, I'm gonna call you up. Hey, what's going on? Can you get my sword did? And he's like, next week. And I'm like, fine, I'm calling you on Canada Day. And I do. And I hit him up. And he's like, I'm like, when? And he's like, Thursday? And I'm like, fine, I'm calling you on Thursday. And we're figuring out a time. And so eventually I get that done. I go all the way to South Vancouver on the river, on Fraser River. That's where the forge is. And which is like 2 hours from Poco. It's a pain in the ass to get there. I finally get there. I get in. My sword's still there. It's a little rusty because it's been 6 months without oil. And this guy is a fucking real neat fella. So first thing I noticed is that, like, I'm trying to get into this place and there's no, it's like a fucking shipyard. Everything's behind barbed wire gates and there's no signage. I just call him like, hey, where are you? Can I come in? And he just like appears out of a hole in the wall like he's a Harry Potter character. And he's got this fucking felt trilby fedora on and this like barely held together patchwork dress shirt. And I'm sitting here like, okay, great, this is a good sign. And he like takes me in, he's like talking to me, we're figuring out how to do the hilt. All he really needs me to literally come in for is to tell him if the hilt's the right shape or size, because he's not sure, because this is his first hilt replacement. And literally it's just like I'm standing there and he's sanding a block of wood, and after like 30 minutes of that, he's like, is this wood good? And I'm like, yep, that's wood. And he's like, great, awesome. And I'm like, did I really need to fucking be here for this? And so I'm like just literally doing anything with my time. I'm on my phone. We start chatting. And we're like, oh yeah, so do you take e-transfer? He's like, nah, I prefer silver coins. And I'm like, I'll go dig up a pot of gold for you on the way back. And he's like, there's a place you can go to. And I'm like, he's serious. He wants silver. He wants fucking pirate doubloons in the form of payment. And I'm like, how? And he's like, yeah, Canadian silver is the most pure silver in the world. It's 99.99% pure silver. And if you go buy Canadian silver dollars, you can pay me with those. They're about 50 Canadian dollars to a silver dollar. And I'm like, this guy's a fucking loony. And he wants me to pay him in loonies. Oh man. And it keeps going from there. Like, this guy is like very heavily anti-establishment, which, if the fedora didn't give it away, he's a bit of a fucking weirdo. And the thing is, he doesn't seem like a bad guy. He's just really on Reddit. He is a Reddit mod, and the energy of the conversation is bouncing all over from like fucking the taxes are a scam to have you heard of Bitcoin to what is a blockchain? Do you actually know? What does blockchain really cost money? The government, more the government is evil stuff. It's, oh my god. And eventually we get to like, hey, have you ever heard of game stocks? And I'm like, oh boy, here we fucking go with this. And thank God, because by the time we were into this conversation, I have to sit here and talk to this finance bro about like what a stock trade is and why investment markets are a scam. The fucking hilt's done and we're ready to pin it back on. And he's like got this big fucking torch. He can put it wherever he wants. He's got this perforated table with a stand on it. And so he could just like put this like little like Y-shaped holder down into it so he can place his blazing blowtorch there. And so he's like, you want to check this out, get a video? I'm like, okie dokie. And I'm taking a video, and he's like, clang 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 clang. And then eventually I'm looking at the thing, and I look at the palm, and I look at the thing, and I'm like, hey bro. And he's like, what's up? And I'm like, you're burning the cord. And he is like lighting this electrical cord on fire with the torch that's just still going while it's on the Y holder. And it's fucking like, he stops, he goes, oh shit. And I'm just sitting there like, this is fantastic. I can't believe I got it on video. And eventually, yeah, the sword gets peened, and I get out there as fast as I fucking can. I like sprint away from this place in this fucking shipyard. And then we go, okay, fine. So that's my fucking weirdo Smith story. I gotta go to class. I'll finish the rest of this video in a second.